It's time now for the political analysis of Fromm and Fuller. Al Fromm, former political advisor to President Bill Clinton, and Craig Fuller, former political advisor to both Presidents Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. Good morning, all. Al, the press is reporting this morning that the current FBI director, Wray, will be resigning before Donald Trump takes office, and it's already well known that Kash Patel, a Trump loyalist, will be nominated to take his place. A simple question: what does this mean for the country?
Nothing good. Chris Wray knows he's going to be fired, but I think he made a bad decision. Simply becoming an enabler for somebody who's going to do damage is not really the best course for the country. And could he have stopped Trump from firing him? No. But instead of basically saying, I'm going to get out of the way, and because it's going to keep the FBI out of this, which is nonsense because the FBI is right in the middle of it already, he could have stood up for the FBI, for the integrity of the rule of law, and made Trump fire him under those conditions. One of the ways Trump operates is he intimidates people so much that they act to enable him to help him before he even has to carry through with his threats. And I think that's what happened to Christopher Wray. Look, Kash Patel is a Trump crony. He's loyal as could be. He's written a book called Gangsters, where he lays out an enemies list. He has 60 people that he wants to persecute or prosecute who are part of the so-called deep state, including people like Cassidy Hutchinson and Trump's former White House attorneys. What it means is if he's confirmed, and every indication is that he will be confirmed from the Republican senators who have spoken up so far, is that he could do a lot of damage, and he would be willing to lead the investigation. I mean, Trump on Meet the Press on Sunday said he wanted to put Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson and Adam Schiff and all the people who worked on the January 6th committee in jail. Well, it helps to have a corrupt crony as FBI director, if you want to go that course, and try to put people in jail for doing their constitutional responsibility. But this, to me, raises the greater question that I raised last week, whether the Republicans in the Senate are going to step up and do their constitutional duty of advice and consent. We have now with Kash Patel 4 nominees who are grossly incompetent to do their job. Pete Hegseth at Defense, Tulsi Gabbard is DNI, Director of National Intelligence, RFK Jr. at HHS, and now Kash Patel. All of them are completely unqualified. All of them are a clear and present danger to the country in the sense one, to the rule of law, to national security. We really want a patsy of deposed Bashar Assad as DNI and somebody who continuously repeats Putin's talking points. Do we really want an anti-vaxxer as HHS? Look, I said last week, this is the test for Senate Republicans. I have no doubt that a lot of them are very uncomfortable this morning because they don't want to vote for these guys. But Trump shows no mercy. Think about Joni Ernst, who is going to be the key vote on the Hegseth nomination. And, there are a lot of personal charges against him, and they should be disqualifying. But even setting those aside, his lack of knowledge about the Pentagon and his crazy policies, he wants to get women out of combat. He should not even be considered if you had a real confirmation process. Joni Ernst's view is the sole or the main vote, the key vote in that process. She's a combat veteran. She's the leader to try to stop abuse of women in the military. There's no reason that she would ever want to vote for this guy, except she's under enormous pressure from MAGA in Iowa,
Right.
and the threat of being primaried by a Trumpy. And so her rhetoric is getting generally softer about that stuff. I hope in the end she votes against him.
Yeah.
But as I said last week, and this is the main point, for all the discomfort, for all these terrible appointments, not one Republican has said he or she would vote no on any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm waiting.
Craig, what's your take?
So I want to come at it a little bit differently. First, I've been around long enough to see a number of different people serving as president in the White House. Some of them I've been enthusiastic about. Some of them I've been less enthusiastic about. I've never, ever wanted to see a failure. I think I know that would just be wrong for the country. And so I start from the premise that I don't want Trump to fail. But what I know, and what I think Al knows from our experience, is that there's a very direct connection between the quality and types of people you appoint to key positions and the success of an administration.
Mm.
I was thinking about it at kind of like three different levels. You could have people coming into an administration who are measured and strategic. I'm probably guilty of falling into that camp. You can have people who are zealous and, a high degree of enthusiasm for the president, willing to go do what the president asks for. And then you have fanatics, people who actually cast aside caution and do whatever they think is going to serve either themselves or the president well. And the zealous people, create challenges and problems and need to be managed. The fanatics get you in serious trouble. And so I think looking at the kinds of people, as Al was describing them, and certainly Kash Patel, what you want in some of these positions, and certainly as director of the FBI, an agency that has 10,000 special agents around the country, 40,000 total employees. They spend over $2 billion a year to protect us, to ensure that terrorists, to ensure that agents of foreign governments who wish us harm are not successful in their endeavors. Yes, they also investigate bank robbers and others who commit federal crimes, but their intelligence responsibility calls for someone at the head of the organization who is dispassionate, who is analytic, strategic, and measured, and every single day. So it worries me that Trump would find somebody who is a fanatic who says that he on day one, Kash Patel, on day one says he would close the FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. and send all those people out into the field. Well, first of all, they're not all special agents there, but in fact, probably the minority are special agents. The special agents are out all over the country doing the important work they do. So it just seems like it's not a choice, a nomination that's going to bring a lot of credit to the administration. I wish that Director Wray had in fact not announced he was leaving his post for the very reason I think the post is so important, and for the very reason I think he's done a pretty good job as a Trump appointee from the earlier administration in this role. But we don't know what's going to happen when the Senate comes together and it looks at these candidates, and you really don't want a vacancy in that position for weeks or months, and you just don't know. When Trump came into office in 2016, he told then a chairman of the Transportation Committee in the Senate, one John Thune, that he really wanted to appoint his pilot to be the head of the Federal Aviation Administration. The FAA administrator has a 5-year term, and I'm very capable administrator who had about 2 years to go in that term, Michael Huerta. Michael Huerta wasn't going to resign. He was going to fulfill his term. And guess what? Senator Thune and others in the Senate said, Mr. President, I'm sorry, but your chief pilot may know a lot about flying a jet, but doesn't really know how to run our whole air transportation system. And so it's quite possible, in my view, that there'll be doubts about Kash Patel. And so I think it's premature for Wray to leave. There is no question. Some say, stay and fight, make him fire you. Well, there's no question. The reason there's a 10-year term is not to guarantee a decade of service. It's to limit the service to a decade. After 30-some years of J. Edgar Hoover, the Congress felt that there should be some limitation on how long a person holds that position. Mm-hmm. The power to appoint that the president has is also the power to remove. And so there's no question that Wray can be removed from that office. I just wish he had stayed. And I certainly hope as this process goes forward, we find someone who, well, certainly loyal to a president, also brings the competency and the measured qualities that are needed in a director of the FBI to that office.
Al, the other thing that made headlines this morning was the announcement that President Biden has issued 1,500 pardons to various people. I believe this is a record for any sitting president. We went through the Hunter Biden pardon just last week. What's your take on that kind of action at the end of his term?
Before I get to that, I just want to make a couple more comments on what Craig said, because Craig said something that I believe very much. I never want a president to fail. But I don't want a president to fail the country either. And there's a difference with Trump. Trump is not an ordinary president, because if Trump succeeds for the country, I'll be a happy person. But if he succeeds on what he's told the country he wants to do in a lot of areas, he will fail the country. And that's not such a good thing. Craig mentioned John Thune. He's now the majority. He will be the majority leader of the Senate, and he is going to be the most important player in Washington. I've heard that there are more than the 4 or 5 Republicans who want to oppose all of these candidates, and that maybe Thune would apportion out no vote so that all of the senators who want to oppose these candidates wouldn't have to be on the record against all of them, and they would just have enough votes to turn them down. I hope that's the case. My experience with those things is that gets to be very dangerous, and you might do it exactly the other way. Just have enough votes to get all of these guys by. So that's something to watch. The other thing about that Craig mentioned, which is important, I mean, where Trump backed down in 2016, but 2016 isn't 2024. Trump has a lot more control of the party. Trump now knows he can primary decent candidates and incumbent senators, and he has the ability to win a lot of those. The Republicans would be in firm control of the Senate if it hadn't been for Trump primarying a lot of decent candidates and putting his candidates in place, particularly in 2022. On the pardons, what I saw this morning is that there aren't a lot of details about these pardons, just the number sort of. And I gathered that they seem to be, marijuana users, a lot of them, and people who the president thinks had too long, their sentences were too long. Let's see what the details are. President's always pardoned a lot of people, and in this case, the pardons may be helping the country catch up with their new beliefs about the use of drugs like marijuana. I'll just say one other thing. I wish that instead of if he was going to pardon Hunter, instead of doing it separately, he would have lumped it in with these 1,500.
Craig, you have the last word.
We don't know who's in that group of people. I know we talked about this before. It's kind of the exceptions in the pardon process that become the news stories. Presidents have typically pardoned a few hundred people during the course of their term or two terms. So we really don't know who's there. I do agree that putting Hunter out there early and drawing all the attention to him and then having all of this clearly in the works is a bit confusing. I don't know why they wouldn't have combined it. There is a process that with the Justice Department and the White House that they go through. These are not 1,500 people the president knows. These are people he believes, based on their record, the fact that they were apparently sent to their homes during COVID, are not hopefully a danger to the community. But it's a large number, and my guess is the press will probe it, and as they should. But it does remind us that it's a very unique power that the president has to issue a pardon. Does not require consultation with the Congress. Most of these go through a process involving the Justice Department and White House counsel, but they don't have to. And so going forward, I think one implication of this could be that the next president, President Trump, may look at a class of individuals who have been either convicted and sentenced and serving time for an act that he thinks is not as serious, like the actions of January 6th, and suddenly hundreds of people whom he does not know and cannot guarantee that they'll return to their communities in a peaceful way. He may decide he's got more leverage now to do that. I think would be a terrible mistake. I did hear already comments coming from the Trump administration or transition team that he may have a different attitude about those who clearly committed serious violence during January 6th. So already they're walking back a little bit of his commitment. But he's talking about issuing pardons right away to a number of people who clearly put lives at risk by what they did on January 6th.
Well, we have to leave it there. Al Fromm, Craig Fuller, thank you so much indeed. We will see you next week.